I'm going to show you a shortcut on how to work problems in the HESI that are fractions but using the calculator, and we're going to convert everything to decimals. The only reason that this works for the HESI is because it's multiple choice, so we can use trial and error to figure out what the correct answer would be. So I'm going to start, this works whether you're doing addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. So I'm just going to do one example of each. So what you start with is converting each of the numbers that you're given from a fraction into a decimal. So you start with 6 3/4 in problem number 1 plus 8 1/6. We want these numbers in decimals because decimals we can plug into the calculator. So if it's a mixed number, meaning a whole number and a fraction, write the whole number part down and then the decimal place. And then we're going to use the calculator to figure out what the value is of the fraction part in decimal form. So for 3/4, you're going to do 3 divided by 4. Every time you encounter a fraction, you're going to do the numerator, which is the number on top, and you're going to divide that by the denominator, which is the number on the bottom. That will give you a decimal value, and you just tack that on to the end of your whole number that you've written down. So 6 3/4 is 6.75. Plus, we're going to do the same thing to 8 1/6. We're going to write in our 8, and then on the calculator, we're going to do 1 divided by 6, and that gives us a really long number. We do not need to write down all of those, but we should go out to about 3 or 4 decimal places, and when we do that, we need to make sure to follow the rounding rules for the last digit that we put in. So 8 and then the decimal place, and then 1, 6, 6, and then the last one, it's a 6 followed by another 6, so that last 6 will get rounded up to a 7. And so I'm just picking to go out to 4 decimal places here. That should always be plenty. 3 is probably good enough. If you don't go out to as many, your answers aren't going to match the answer choices as well. So that's the reason that I recommend going out to 3 or 4 decimal places. So now all we need to do is put that into the calculator. 6.75 plus 8.166 equals, and we get 14.9167. Now, of course, that doesn't match any of our answers here because our answers are also in fractions. But what we're going to look for first is which ones have the same whole number in front of the decimal. Because if that number doesn't match, it cannot be the correct answer. So over here, 3 5/6, that can't be the right answer. So I'm going to mark that one out. And 12 3/24 also can't be the right answer. The right answer in fraction form still has to start with a 14, just like our decimal answer does. And so then we're going to convert the 2 remaining answers to decimals and see which one matches. So now we're going to do 14 2/5. And that, again, we'll start with a 14 and then the decimal place. And then for the 2/5 part of it, 2 divided by 5, and it's 0.4. So this one is 14.4, which does not match 14.9167. So we're going to need to keep going, and hopefully our other one will give us a matching answer. So 14 11/12 is also going to be 14 point something, and then the decimal part is going to be 11 divided by 12, and that gives us 0.916, and then if we round the 4th decimal place, it'll be a 7. So 14.9167 matches the answer that we got for the addition problem, and therefore 14 and 11/12, answer C, is the correct answer. So just to review the steps, first we're going to, in all cases, we're going to take any fractions, we're going to convert them to decimals, and then we're going to do the decimal in addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division in the calculator. So the steps do not change any, unlike when you're doing like regular fraction addition and subtraction is different from multiplying and dividing. Now we just have one set of rules, and it doesn't matter if you're doing addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. So I'm going to do the next example here, which is 4 7/8. 4 7/8 divided by 1 1/6. So for the 4 7/8, we're going to put the 4 in there, 4 point, and then 7 divided by 8 is 0.875. So we're going to put that after the decimal place. Divided by 1 point, and then 1/6, which we just had in the last one, but I don't remember what that was. 1,667. And then we just punch this into the calculator. 4.875 divided by 1.1667 equals, and we get 4 point, and again we're going to just go out to 4 decimal places, 4.178, and then the next number is a 4, but after the 4 is a 5, which means we need to round up to a 5. And so of our remaining, or of our answer choices, we have 3 of them that start with a 4, so those could be correct. The one that starts with a 5 cannot be correct, so we can mark that one out. And then we're going to try 4 5/28 and see if that matches. So we're going to do the 4 and a decimal point, and then 5 divided by 28 equals 1,786. Okay, these two are really close, right? They're probably close enough, but we don't know for sure yet, so we're going to keep trying all the other answers. And in all cases, we're always going to try all the answers because particularly with something that's going to come up in example 3. So the next one is we've got 4 6/8. So 4 point, and then 6 divided by 8 is 0.75. So 4.75, that's not looking good. And then 4 7/8 is going to be 4.7 divided by 8, 4.875, even worse of a match. Okay, so here's a case where you're not getting an exact match, but if we had only gone out to 3 decimal places, it would have been a better match, 4.179. At any rate, if you get something that's really close and it's only varying in the last decimal place and you've gone out to 3 or 4 decimal places, then that's your answer. And it's okay that it doesn't exactly match. It's only because of rounding that it's not matching perfectly. So here the answer is A, 4 5/28. Sorry about that. Okay, so you see how here, even though it was division instead of, the first one was addition, this one was division, it's the exact same steps. They don't change at all, other than when you're punching this into the calculator, of course, you're going to hit the divided by symbol instead of the plus symbol. But beyond that, you're going to follow all the same steps, whether you're doing addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. So we're going to go on to number 3. So this one is something we haven't seen yet, but it's not a major change. We've got 5/6 minus 3/4. In this case, they're not mixed numbers. And if that's the case, instead of putting a number like where we put the 4 or the 6 and then the decimal place, just put a 0. And so 5 divided by 6 is 0.8333, and then minus 3/4, and 3 divided by 4 is 0.75. So again, because there's no whole number in front of the fraction, it's 0.75. And so then going to do that on our calculator. 0.8333 minus 0.75 equals 0.0833. So then when we check our answers, we have 2/24, 1/12, 1 and 1/2. And we don't have a 1 whole number, we have a 0 out in front. So all of these for the correct answer are going to have to be anything without a whole number, whether there's a fraction after it or not. In this case, it's just a 1, and this is something that's obviously less than 1 because it's a 0 point something. So we'll start with 2/24. So 2 divided by 24 equals 2 divided by 24. And that matches perfectly, right? But remember what I said, that we always want to keep doing all of the answers? This is why, because in this case, if you pick this one, it would be wrong. And I'm going to show you why right now. The next answer is 1/12. 1 divided by 12 is the exact same thing. The reason for that is that they're representing the same number, but 1/12 is reduced. 2/24 can be reduced to 1/12, and the correct answer is always going to be the one that is reduced. So given the choice of these two, they're going to equal the same thing, but only 1/12 is the correct answer there. And then just to be thorough, we'll go ahead and do the final answer, which is 1/2. And 1/2, of course, is 0.5, and that is not right. So here is the correct answer. So if you come across one like this, where you get the exact same answer for 2 and it is the correct answer, how would you know which one to pick? It's actually very simple. Pick the one that has smaller numbers, because whenever you reduce a fraction, your numbers end up smaller. So because your 2 goes to a 1 and your 24 goes to a 12, this one has the smaller numbers, and so that's your correct answer. So let's see, we're going to do now one final example, and this one is multiplication, and this just has one more element to it, which is just that it's multiplying 3 numbers, but that does not change the process at all. And I don't remember seeing anything on the HESI that involved 3 numbers, but just in case, it's good to know. And just one more example to show how this works. So the first one does not have a whole number in front of the fraction, so it's going to be 0.4444 times, this one is 1 4/5, so it's going to be 1.4 divided by 5 is 0.8, so this is 1.8 times 2 divided by 5, which is 0.4. So now we're going to multiply all 3 of those in the calculator. So we've got 0.4444 times 1.8 times 0.4 equals 0.319968. And I just went ahead and wrote out all the digits on that one, just because there weren't that many more than 5, so it just didn't make it that much harder to include them all. Okay, so now we've got something with a 1 in front of it, and our number has a 0 at the beginning. So we know we can get rid of A, and we know we can get rid of D. So now we're down to either 7/16 or 8/25. So 7 divided by 16 is 0.4375, and 8 divided by 25 is 0.32. So if we were to take so obviously it's not very close to this one, right? It doesn't even start with the same digit. So hopefully we can convince ourselves that these 2 numbers are almost the same, and they are. They're extraordinarily close, maybe more so than they appear, because if we were just going to round this to 2 decimal places, then the 9 would make the 1 round up to a 2, and it would be 0.32. So that is the correct answer, 8/25, answer C. So quick review of the steps is convert all of your fractions in the problem to decimal. Do the calculation involving those decimals in the calculator. Rule out any answers where the number before the decimal doesn't agree with the fraction answer, and then convert any remaining fraction answers to decimals and pick the one that matches. Good luck!